If there's one thing important to us Christians, it's having a healthy marriage. You couldn't count how many books and conferences we pay for to improve the most critical relationship in our lives. There's a lot of material to go through, and finding a credible authority on marriage is no easy task. If you're some poor schmuck who has no idea how to run a marriage, and you're just starving for someone to knock some common sense into you, then let me introduce you to Douglas Wilson. Doug Wilson has written many articles and books on marriage. He's a man who knows what marriage is all about. Did you know that if you marry a woman and she looks less attractive as time goes on, that's your fault? I bet you didn't. I bet you thought your wife would inevitably become less attractive because that's just how life is, especially if she has children. But no, that's not necessarily true. In one of Wilson's books, Reforming Marriage Chapter 4, he writes, "The Bible teaches that a Christian husband is responsible for the loveliness of his wife. It is crucial that husbands come to see that they must assume full responsibility for the loveliness of their wives. When husbands undertake the assigned responsibility of loving their wives in such a way that they grow in loveliness, they need to understand that the results will be visible. A man who marries biblically should expect his wife to be visibly lovelier on their 10th anniversary. And if she is not, he knows that he is the one responsible." So, if you're a married man and your wife is visibly less attractive now than she was when you tied the knot, it's your fault, buddy. You heard it from the expert on marriage himself, Doug Wilson. It doesn't matter if 10 years go by. If she is visibly just as or less lovely 10 years after you married her, you done screwed up. Now, I know some of you will think, this visible attractiveness or loveliness has to do with attitude and demeanor. Your wife will be more pleasant to be around, more kind, more gracious. Well, if that's what he meant, why would Wilson bring up Barbie dolls? A common assumption in the world is that women must keep themselves up in order to keep a man. In the world of attracting and being attracted, women are taught to view themselves as being primarily responsible for their own attractiveness or loveliness. This viewpoint is inculcated early. Once, young girls used to play with baby dolls, seeing themselves in the role of the nurturing mother. Now they can be seen playing with Barbie dolls, seeing themselves in the place of the doll. And of course, the doll is both pretty and stacked. The pressure is on and stays on. Keeping yourself up, responsible for loveliness, Barbie dolls being both pretty and stacked, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's physical beauty he's talking about. I don't think Wilson was talking about the pleasant demeanor of a Barbie doll, but there's more. Notice how he said, a common assumption in the world is that women are responsible for their own attractiveness? Well, that may be very relevant to you. You're probably working under that worldly assumption that it's your wife's responsibility to maintain her own good looks. Well, the very next paragraph was written just for people like you. The perversion in this is not that women desire to be attractive or lovely. The perversion is the modern divorce of a woman's loveliness from the behavior of her father and husband. There is nothing wrong with wanting a lovely garden. There is a great deal of folly in wanting a lovely garden which will tend and keep itself. Well, that makes sense. I mean, sure, your wife may not be a plant. I mean, she has a brain and self-awareness and the physical and mental capacity to maintain her looks, exercise, and eat healthy, but that's all irrelevant. You can't expect that sentient garden to take care of itself. That's your job. But don't let these bizarre teachings dissuade you from believing Doug Wilson is an expert on marriage. He believes in raising boys to fight giants, after all. It's not like he would tell those same boys to tiptoe around their future wives. Oh wait, yes he has. The wife is to be the ruler or despot of the home. This means that when she tells you to take your shoes off at the door, you will take your shoes off. And cheerfully. Well, I'll be darned. I was raised to kill giants, but I better watch how I behave around the missus. That's not all he said. In a certain sense, a husband, as the head of his wife, is an honored and permanent guest, but he should learn to see himself as a guest. He wipes his feet at the door. He eats what is served to him, and he seeks to conform to the pattern established by her. Remember your mom telling you to behave yourself when you were 5 years old? If you miss those good old days, never fear. Your wife is your new mother now. Don't forget to wipe your nose and wash behind your ears, my fellow giant killers. And be sure to smile when you do it. Your wife is watching and we wouldn't want to make her upset, now would we? No, we don't. Remember the old saying, when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy? Douglas Wilson doesn't just believe that. He has his own theologically sophisticated version of it.
So the key is found in how the husband is treating his wife. The center of the relationship in the home is the relationship between husband and wife, and the initiating key is how the husband treats the wife and how she responds to that love. Or put another way, when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
So now, if your wife isn't happy, then that's yet another sign that you're failing as a husband. It was probably because you didn't smile when you took your shoes off at the door. Don't you realize what that did to her, you despicable, wretched man? You may be thinking something feels a bit off when it comes to Doug Wilson's opinion of what masculinity is. Most people don't tend to associate masculinity with husbands tiptoeing around their wives, much less thinking the wife is the ruler of the home. Most people would find that to be the exact opposite of masculinity. Heck, you may be watching this video right now and thinking, maybe Doug Wilson has this whole marriage thing completely backwards. But what you plebs fail to understand is that this titan of Christian conservative values knows marriage far better than you. If he seems to be saying something wrong, it doesn't matter, even if he contradicts himself. For example, those under authority owe certain things to their liege lord, and the one in authority has the right to require it of them. Okay, that makes sense. And since the husband is in authority over the home, he has the right to require things from those under his authority. Right? There is a fundamental truth here. If you are talking with your wife and requiring something of her because you want something done, then you are wrong. Let's read those quotes again, just in case you thought you missed something. Those under authority owe certain things to their liege lord, and the one in authority has the right to require it of them. There is a fundamental truth here. If you are talking with your wife and requiring something of her because you want something done, then you are wrong. Yes, this is a blatant contradiction in Wilson's teachings, but it doesn't matter. Just like when he told the husbands, take your shoes off at the door, that kind of seemed to undermine the whole liege lord portrayal of the husband. Well, you know what? Wilson, being the enigmatic expert on marriage that he is, anticipated that objection and followed it up with this. This does not contradict what the Bible teaches elsewhere about the husband's authority and headship. See, now you don't have to worry. Sure, the husband is being ordered around by his wife, granted, but it does not contradict the husband's authority. How is that possible, you may ask? Who cares? Don't be such a fathead.
Because he's being a fathead.
That's one of Wilson's G-rated insults, by the way, which is ironic considering he has a pretty fat head himself.
Because he's being a fathead.
But let's not get distracted. He also says, of course the husband is not under her command. She ought not to boss him around like he is one of the kids. But at the same time, he is called upon to honor the standards which she establishes for the home. And how does the husband honor her established standards? By being under her command and obeying her when she bosses him around like a little kid. Hopefully that won't murder the sexual attraction between the two. Speaking of which, what about sex? Question, must my wife have sex with me whenever I want it? Answer, don't be a fathead. Ah, there it is again.
Because he's being a fathead.
It was a serious question. Answer, yes, she must have sex whenever you want it, and you must refrain whenever she wants to refrain. You have authority over her body, but never forget that she also has authority over your body. At this point, you're probably ripping your hair out right now because you don't know what to think. The husband is the head of the home, but the wife is the ruler. But he's not under her command. Oh wait, yes he is. The husband is the liege lord, but he's a guest in his own house. She has to have sex with him whenever he wants. Oh wait, no she doesn't. How does any of this make sense? I'll tell you how it makes sense. Is the husband the head of his wife the way Christ is the head of the church? Absolutely. Is he the boss man? Not even close. That right there is a neat, tidy little way to wrap up what we've learned today. What Wilson teaches about marriage may be ridiculous and downright incoherent from beginning to end, but you'll notice a consistent pattern. It's consistently contradictory in just such a way that the husband is unquestionably under his wife's authority, not vice versa. And yet, this somehow gets passed off as patriarchy, or traditional conservative Christian views on marriage, when in reality, it's a bizarre amalgamation of cuckoldry that seeks to stamp out any masculinity on the part of the men who believe in it.